To the channel. I do hope everyone is well. This video I want to talk about dementia and the effects it can have on the person that has got dementia and the effects on the people that are living around it. So people say dementia and it's it's a really horrible disease, blah blah blah. Dementia as a whole is not a single disease. There are three main types. There's vascular dementia, which is caused by your reduced blood flow to your brain. Alzheimer's, which is caused by abnormal protein buildup in the brain. And Lewy body frontal temporal, I think that is, which is changes your type of behaviour and things. So obviously, if you know somebody who is living with dementia, or you know somebody who has got dementia, you know that they have difficulty remembering things. You know they struggle with planning things. They misplace items, or they think that they're not an item that is not theirs is theirs. Noticeable changes in mood. They have no concept of time. Excuse me. Dementia, for the person who is suffering from it, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. It must be absolutely problematic because they tend to go back in life. They tend to go backwards. And it's been a well-known saying for a little while now, and there's been a saying that life goes round in a circle. You start off, you can't walk, you can't talk, you can't think. Everything is done for you. And it's the same when you are old. And to a degree, that is correct. And that is actually a correct statement to make. If you think about it logically, we can't walk, so we use a walker. When we get older, we use a walker. And it's things like that. So anybody who's got it tends to go back to their past because that is what their brain does. It has trouble remembering the current situation. So they will go back to their past and they will come up with random stuff like this. Go and see John Joe. John Joe's been dead 3 years. Oh, where's the phone? I need to ring Deirdre. Deirdre's been dead for 6 years. And that's how they look upon it. They don't remember that them people are no longer here. It must be hard for people with dementia in a way of they don't know what they are doing. And for the person who they are living with, so if you've got a married couple who one of them has got dementia, it must be very hard on the other one. To begin with, obviously, dementia will get worse in years rather than months or weeks. To begin with, it's just little things. Like, you'll have the same conversation 3 times. They'll forget something. And then it'll gradually get worse and worse and worse. And they'll start doing things that they're not aware of. And I know several people that have got dementia of one form or another, or have had it. And they don't know who you are, where you don't know. They don't know anything, absolutely nothing. And for somebody, and I just we're using a married couple. If a married couple have been married for many years, it can't be easy on that person. And one of the misconceptions is that dementia will only come out in older people, and it won't. It can strike anyone at any time. Would I come down with dementia? I've got just as much chance of getting it as anyone else. So basic stages of dementia: no impairment, they function completely normally. Stage 2, normal age-related forgetfulness. This person can occasionally misplace items, forget names, but this does not affect daily life or work. Stage 3 is mild cognitive decline. Friends and family members begin to notice subtle changes. The person may struggle to find the right words, get lost in new environments, or have trouble organising and planning. Stage 4 is moderate, clear cognosis. Individual struggles with recent events, complex tasks like managing finances. They may withdraw due to increasing challenges. Then you go to moderately severe. Everyday support becomes necessary. The person can no longer live independently without assistance. They may forget personal details like their address, their phone number, but can usually recall distant memories and recognise familiar faces. Severe is at stage 6, which is constant supervision and full-time assistance with daily living, dressing, bathing, using the toilet are required. Personality changes and sleep occurs, and the person may wonder or fail to recognise other family members. And very serious is the final stage, and is characterised by loss of physical and verbal capabilities. The individual loses the ability to speak, walk without help, and swallow around the clock. Care is required for all basic functions. Basically, there are 7 functions. There is no guarantees that you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go from 1 straight to 5. As an example, it depends on how quick it hurts and what type you have. Obviously, for those who are new to the channel and don't know, I used to work in parking, and I was based at Tunbridge Wells Hospital for a little while, and I used to see quite a few nurses from various departments, and I used to like to try and find out a bit more information. And I was having a conversation with a dementia nurse one day on the dementia unit, and she said, I can sum dementia up in one word, in one saying. And I said, go on then, what's that? She went, it is like having a child. You have to keep a constant eye. The worse it gets, the more they become. So if you look at stage 6, constant supervision and full-time assistance with daily living, dressing, bathing, using the toilet are required. Personality changes and sleep occur, and the person may wonder or fail to recognise close family members. And it is basically going back to when you was a baby. The person who is living with the person with dementia has got to work out where the limit is, and where they say, look, I can't handle him at home anymore. We either need carers to come in, or he needs to go into a home. Nobody wants to be put in a home. Nobody wants to put anyone in a home, but it is sometimes a necessity. It is a scientific proven fact that people at home recover from stuff better. Unfortunately, dementia, there is no cure because it is the brain. Brain is one of the most wonderful things. It is one of the most beautiful things we have in our body, but it is also one of the hardest to deal with. If anything goes wrong with the brain and it malfunctions, everything goes up the spout. So we've covered the person living with it. We've covered the person living with the person with dementia. Well, what about from the wider aspect? So family. Let's go sons, daughters. Because they're immediate family. So let's go sons, daughters. Depending on how old they are. Well, I say it depends on how old they are. I don't think it depends on how old they are. It doesn't matter how old the kids can be. They could be 30, 40, 50 years old. It still comes as a shock, and it will still come as a shock, because at the end of the day, that is the person who spoon-fed you, who helped you walk, helped you talk, got you through school, helped you out when you needed money, helped you out when you needed advice. And all of a sudden, you are watching them go into a... I'm going to use the word chrysalis. That's the wrong word to use, but that is what they do. They go back. They go in on themselves. They're no longer the active talking part of the community. They don't know, instead of being there very, hi, how are you, what are you doing, and so how you been doing, what you been doing, what you been doing, how long you been doing it, they'll just go, how is things? Okay. And then they just sit there and then they go, okay. And then they're being silent, and then you can potentially have the same conversation about 10-15 minutes later. And it is hard to see that decline, because as I said, I don't care if you get on with your parents or you don't get on with your parents, but they are your parents. You only have one set of parents, and it doesn't matter if you get on or get on with. Anything that happens to your parents will affect you, be it consciously or subconsciously. And obviously, you can then go further back and obviously go extend it outwards. So we've covered sons and daughters. That was a TV program. Then you go out a bit more and you go to grandchildren. How will it affect the grandchildren? The grandchildren are going to see a decline. And depending on how old the grandchildren are at the time, if they are of an age where, like teenagers upwards, they're going to have some understanding. But if they're youngsters, like before their teens, they're not going to understand why nanny or granddad is suddenly losing the plot. And this is the thing, and it's a case of, wow. Friends will notice that the person won't want to go out and socialise, because it's not because they don't want to go out and socialise, they do want to go out and socialise, but they are worried about going out and socialising. And it is a well-known fact, dementia is quite common, and there is no cure for it, and nobody can come up with an answer of why. We have dementia, we have Alzheimer's, and it is a case of what they why it happens, things, and it is very sad. It is very dementia is a thing, and it doesn't matter. And we go back to these people. Ultimately, dementia is going to kill the person. There is no ifs, buts, maybes. That is what's going to happen. So again, you go through the categories that we have just gone through previously. Obviously, the person that they are married to is going to hit them hard. It's going to hit the sons and daughters hard, because they've been with that person for many, many years. They know what he used to be like, or she used to be like. They know that they were fun, outgoing, loudmouth, whatever they were. And then all of a sudden they were a shadow of their formal self. And it is true what they say. Again, this came from a nurse down at Tunbridge Wells Hospital. They say you lose someone to dementia twice. The first time is when they get severe dementia and they forget everything. And then the second time is when they die. And both times is very, very hard. And it's case of what the flying fidget spinners. Friends are not necessarily going to be as closely affected by it, but they will be. I'm not saying, somebody who has got dementia is going to definitely die of dementia. They could die of other things. But as I said, the body is a very, 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 very complicated thing. Because obviously, our body is a temple. When we are first born, as soon as we are born, people, as soon as we are born, things start to die. Take me, I'm 46 years old. You are not going to see a 46-year-old car on the road. They've still got all these original parts. But on a car, you can replace bits. And I suppose, to a degree, to the human body, we can replace bits. Knees, hips, heart, lungs, things like that we can replace. But the brain is one bit that we cannot transplant. For whatever reason. So it is a case of it has to be one of the most evilest, and I'll use the word evilest, diseases known to man. If you have a good network of friends around you, and you know someone that is suffering from dementia, and it's affecting you, try talking to people. Google dementia, and there are a list of charities. Alzheimer's disease is being one of them that I know of just off the top of my head. You can contact them, you can ask for advice. Talk to friends, talk to healthcare professionals. If it helps, get yourself booked in for some counselling. And just when the person, and this is not just dementia, this is across the board. If somebody you love and you care for dies, remember the good times. Never remember the bad times. It's going to be hard enough grieving for whatever reason they have died. And if you sit there and you remember all the bad times, you will end up causing yourself more harm than good. Always remember the good times. Life is too short. We are put on this earth for a limited time. Do I believe in God? No, but I believe there is a stronger presence, because at the end of the day, this world was created in some way or another. There are many reasons why I don't believe in God, because for one, if there was a God, we wouldn't have so many fucking wars over religion. So yeah, that is basically it for this video. I just thought I would pop on and share that with you. Anybody who wants to talk to me and you've got my number or you've got me on Facebook, drop me a message. If you want to leave a comment on this video, drop a comment on the video. I do I do look at comments quite regularly, and I will go through them, and if I see a comment I will reply to it. That is it for this video, guys. Look after yourselves and be good, and remember, look after yourself, but more importantly, look after each other. And until the next video, bye bye for now. Bye bye.